So what I want to talk to you tonight is about Forrest Gump memes, where he's used to put down a celebrity or a political figure. First off, that's demeaning to people that have mental disabilities. The second thing is, if you watch the movie Forrest Gump and you think the movie is making fun of Forrest Gump, then you're the dummy. And I'm going to explain. Okay? Forrest Gump has limitations mentally, but he recognizes those and he works around it, right? In spite of his limitation mentally, he's an important, successful business person, right? Because we saw him in the cover of that magazine. I think it was Forbes, right? The other thing, too, is, he tends to bring people around him up. And I'll give you a prime example, Lieutenant Dan. Now, Lieutenant Dan lost both legs in the Vietnam War, and he was mad at Forrest for saving him. And in some ways, Forrest saved him twice. Forrest saved him during the Vietnam War and then saved him, from his self-pitying, morbid, life isn't worth living. But it's more than just that. Forrest, looked at Lieutenant Dan, because that's what he kept calling him through the whole picture. He looked at him, but he didn't see the disability. He saw someone who's, and here's the thing, right? We know that Lieutenant Dan has a university education, or is a pilot, at the very least, because he's Lieutenant Dan. He's a commissioned officer, right? Which means he has to have some education. That's what Forrest Gump saw in him. And if you think about it, right? He had Lieutenant Dan invest in some company that sells fruit. You might think, well, that sounds like something stupid, but it's not. See, Forrest is smart enough to see his own limitations and then see other people's skill set, right? He thinks Lieutenant Dan is smart, and Lieutenant Dan is smart, right? He looks beyond Lieutenant Dan's limitations because he's learned to look beyond his own limitations. So Lieutenant Dan invests in this software company, or software hardware company, Apple is, and then if you don't get it by the end of the movie's never making fun of Forrest Gump. It's making fun of us, the audience. Because, remember that guy on the bench who, thought he was full, couldn't, possibly be this, successful business person? That's us. That is us, the audience. And that's the whole point, right? We're not laughing at him. We're looking at him, but we're laughing at ourselves. There's one scene where he's mowing the lawn of the football field and he does it for free. And a lot of, some of my friends said, well, what a moron, not getting paid. Believe it or not, a lot of rich people do community service. Why? Well, because they've already got their money, and why not, right? They can help out the community, and if I don't know, just to switch gears for a second. Remember the movie Bruce Almighty, where God is sweeping the floor? Morgan Freeman as God is mopping the floor, and he says there's nothing like good old days work. A lot of rich people feel that way too. And here's the thing. And if you didn't get it, why? Because I could. He's the Bob Shrimp business made him a millionaire, and that stock in Apple probably made him a billionaire, right? He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to mow the lawn, mow the grass at a football field, he can do that. It's his choice. He can do whatever he wants. And there's where the joke is. Because most people in the audience can't do that. Most people that are watching this video right now, you can't do that. You don't have the choice. You got to go to a 9-to-5 job until you're old enough to retire, right? The running across the thing. Well, why not? He wanted to do it. He felt like doing it. He did it. I mean, when you think about the kind of freedom the intellectual freedom that Forrest Gump has to be able to say, well, if I want to run across the United States, I can run across the United States. And he does it 2 or 3 times. He did it because he wanted to do it. Now, how many people watching this video right now are that free that you can just take off and, and this is why I don't think it's right to be using Forrest Gump memes when you're trying to put someone down for being mentally handicapped, or or someone you don't disagree with, and you want to put them down mentally, because if you're smart about it, Forrest Gump is actually a symbol of hope. He basically, the fact that he can do what he did with his limitations, knowing his limitations, and being able to work within those limitations, become as rich and successful he did. When she was crying about, the abuse, Jenny was crying about the abuse she suffered under her, he bought the house that she grew up in just to tear it down. That's who Forrest Gump was as a movie character. And this is just it. Using him to put people down is stupid, because in a lot of ways, Forrest Gump was a successful business person. He probably had at least $1 billion in the bank account. But I don't think a lot of people understand that, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand, like I said, he saw the potential in Lieutenant Dan, right? When everybody else would have given up on Lieutenant Dan, he sought him out, and then Lieutenant Dan, probably takes, so much money, percentage or whatever, invest in Apple. He's smart enough to invest in Apple. And you might say, you're seeing too much and stuff, but the investment that Forrest Gump put into Lieutenant Dan, not just as a friend, but he was more Lieutenant Dan's mentor than the other way around, right? It's hard for Lieutenant Dan to look at his limitations, which he's got no legs, and then look at Forrest Gump's limitations and say, well, I can't do anything. So in a lot of ways, like, Forrest Gump he's a very good symbol for disabled people, because not only does he work with his limitations, but he helps others work with theirs. So when I see memes, putting Trudeau's face on Forrest Gump's body, that's just stupid and mean. And the thing is, you're targeting a group of people that haven't done anything to hurt you. Now, am I saying that mentally disabled people can all be billionaires? No, but neither can a lot of us. So that's the thing to think about. And the main thing to think about is, like I said, despite his limitations, Forrest Gump is actually very successful. I mean, he lives in a large house, right? He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, because he's got shitloads of money. If he wants to mow a football field, he can mow a football field, because he has that choice. And I think a lot of us wish we had that choice. But here's the thing: using Forrest Gump to insult someone, you're insulting the mentally disabled community, and in some ways, you're not really insulting that person. I mean, if Forrest Gump is a successful business person, and you use Forrest Gump with Justin Trudeau's head, you're basically saying Justin Trudeau is a successful politician. But anyway, thanks.